Welcome to today's episode. My name is Dustin Cantrell. I'm a wedding photographer who's passionate about helping couples plan their wedding day. I'm here today with Rosie, who's a seasoned wedding planner. She's here to share her expertise. Rosie, if you could just start by telling us a little about you, where you're located, and sort of your experience in the wedding world.
Yeah, my name is Rosie Monson, and I'm the co-owner of Kismet Event Co. We are located in Sonoma County, but we love Sonoma and Napa and beyond. We'll go anywhere you want us to. And I've been planning weddings and other events for 12 years, and I just love it.
Awesome. So for couples who I know it's the time of year when a lot of people start to get engaged,
Yep.
and there's the stress once you say I do or accept that ring, to start planning your wedding and to sort of secure the things that really are important to you, venue, photographer, things like that. For couples who are just recently engaged, from your perspective as a wedding planner, what's like the first step would you recommend?
Well, I'm sure it's no surprise my answer, but I'd recommend that you hire a planner first. So the planner, our goal is to take the stress off of you. Our goal is to prioritize things so not everything feels overwhelming. We like to pair the couple's vision and their personality with the perfect venue and the perfect vendors. So instead of Googling wedding photographers in Sonoma County, we can refer vendors that we've worked with before that are going to be in your budget, that are going to be in the area, that are going to really have the vision for the type of photography that you want, for instance. So I really think it helps to start with a planner versus starting planning on your own, trying to start planning on your own and then adding one later.
Nice. I've actually never thought of it this way, but I bet by, like when you send me a couple that might be interested in working with me, you probably get a faster response too because they know you're involved, a wedding planner's involved, so it's going to probably be way less stressful than starting maybe at the beginning stages of a bride who really doesn't know what they want. So you sort of can
Yeah.
help navigate those conversations. I'm assuming you probably get quicker responses from vendors. Do you see that?
I hope so. I always get quick responses, but we also have vendors that we love and that we've worked with for years and years and years. But I do have to say, I've had some couples come to me that have already started the planning process, and I mean, the spreadsheets are overwhelming. So when you've looked into, 35 venues and 20 caterers, I mean, that's exhausting. So I think that having a planner from the start is going to help you narrow those things down. So you're then looking at three or five versus feeling overwhelmed with almost too many options.
Yeah. And in terms of, I guess it just depends on what stage people are reaching out to you and booking your services. But what's, I guess, like a common mistake you see, maybe people who've started like thinking, oh, I don't
Mm-hmm.
need a wedding planner, or,
Mm-hmm.
they get to the point where they're just so overwhelmed and they realize they have a wedding planner. What's like the common mistake, I guess, they maybe get stuck on in terms of like planning their wedding?
Well, and besides not having a planner from the start, I would say not having a set budget. So I have some couples who think they have a bucket of money for planning, but they don't have budget categories yet, and so they get really excited about one vendor and book, say, a $25,000 band or $15,000 in floral, but then they haven't realized how much rentals are going to cost or transportation or photography or videography or hair and makeup. And so if they don't have a comprehensive budget to start and they just start booking vendors without thinking through that, it can catch up with them really quickly. So I just recommend taking, I know you're excited about getting engaged, taking one step back, thinking about your priorities. So thinking about, we are very excited about the floral, but maybe don't care as much about the catering, which is sort of unheard of in Sonoma County, but that could happen. Or, what is important for you as a couple? Because some couples don't have budgets to have blowouts for every single vendor. And just thinking if we had to cut back, where would that be before booking anyone? So I would say after getting organized with a planner, one mistake would be booking vendors before budgeting.
Oh, well, I've, this is insight I've never thought about.
Yeah, yeah.
In terms of I know every business is different. Not every wedding planner is the same, but sort of like standard across the industry. What is like the packages? I know you have day of coordinators, and then you have people that will do everything and anything. But sort of like how do you choose what you need? I guess it depends on your level of commitment to the planning as well, like how much you want the planner to take over. But sort of how do you have that conversation and decide what type of planning you want for your wedding day.
Yeah, so it's two things. It's your time commitment. So we have some couples that are very excited for planning. Maybe they're planners themselves in a corporate setting, and they love getting into the details. And we have some couples that are so busy working, they're executives that do not have time to spend digging into photographer websites or doing all the research on their own. So it really depends on that consideration and then budget as well. I mean, full planning is going to be for a higher budget wedding than partial planning would be. So it's really, yeah, thinking about how much time and energy the couple is wanting to spend or is able to spend, and then their budget for that. Um, I can't actually speak to day of planning because I think that's crazy. Um, so we just don't offer it, and I can't imagine showing up like a month or a week or a day before and then piecing together what someone else has planned. So I know that is an option for some planning companies or individuals, and I maybe I'm too type A, but I really like to know what's happening in the planning, start to finish, whether I'm fully involved or whether I'm, just working alongside them with partial planning.
I totally agree with the day of planners.
Yeah.
I've had experiences with that, and it's like they barely had time to even know really what's going on, and can't answer like the basic
Yeah.
things on a wedding day, and they put like all the pressure on the other vendors to keep the timeline on track and things. And I'm thinking,
Mm,
besides like setting up, I just don't really see the benefit of that because they're just sort of out of the loop because it's just so last minute. But anyways, tangent.
yeah.
In
Yeah.
terms of in terms of I guess like you've been doing this a very long time. What are sort of misconceptions that people have? Because most people, this is a once in a lifetime thing. You only have a wedding planner once. You only have a wedding photographer once. What's misconceptions people come to you with in terms of like what a wedding planner does, or actually on a wedding day of I guess their expectations, and sort of is there any
Hmm.
things that you see that people sort of like majority of people are like, is that the wedding planner or is that not the wedding planner's job?
Huh. Well, I do have to say, overall, like hiring a wedding planner, there's a misconception on why you would need one or if you need one at all. I've had grooms come up to me after the wedding and they said, I didn't know why we even had to hire you. I thought not that it was a waste of money, but I just didn't not understand your role or your purpose. And I am so glad that you were there. So I think the main misconception is just like overall, what value can you give to our wedding? And like the dream is that the morning of the wedding, you're getting hair and makeup done, sipping on champagne, enjoying your family, enjoying your wedding party, and everything else is left on me. So we're dealing with all vendors, all vendor communications, all the setup, and you're really just a guest at your wedding and enjoying your day. And that goes through the end of the evening and even the next day. So we're packing up all those little things that you brought with you. We're making sure the marriage license gets sent back and the guest book and cards get packed up and delivered to your hotel. I mean, we just want you to be enjoying your friends and family, and everything behind the scenes happens. To us. So we're managing every single thing that's needed.
Yeah, yeah, that's perfectly part.
Yeah.
I've seen it where brides try to be their own planner the day of and try to have their hands in everything and like setting up their own tables and things. And it's like you spend all this money, and it's a one day. This is once in a lifetime, and you're doing all you're working on your wedding day, and it's kind of sad that they sort of get sucked into all the things that make their guests happy instead of just enjoying their wedding day. So yeah, I'm all about a wedding planner, and
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like a lot of people don't see the benefit until they're like, oh, we didn't have to worry about all the little annoying things on wedding day because the planner was
Yeah.
always right
And
there and making sure it
and
got
all
done.
the yeah. And all the vendors have to check in with someone, and you don't want that to be a family member or the bride.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So I know wedding days can be super hectic. In terms of the things you've seen through your years of being in this business, what's the number one thing that throws off a timeline? I don't want to put blame on any
Mm.
particular vendor, but what's like the one
Mm.
thing that can really screw up the beginning of a wedding day?
Well, this that's interesting. We don't really have hectic wedding days, to be completely honest. I know that sounds crazy, but I was even talking to some of our planners, this year, and we try to always troubleshoot things. And really, by the time we get to the wedding day, we have thought through every second with every vendor. So, I mean, I know when my couples are arriving for hair and makeup, what they're having for breakfast, how they are going to get transported to the venue, what time photos start. I mean, we've thought through everything so that there are no surprises, nothing is going overtime, and we leave a lot of extra time in between things for travel or for, just downtime if needed. We also make sure that there are plenty of staff members on site to make sure the event is seamless so that if something comes up, I'm not being pulled to deal with one rental that wasn't delivered. One of our other team members is doing that. So, um, I don't know. I think it's really thinking through everything prior to the wedding. It's part of that is having vendors that are that are trusted and can stay on a timeline and on track. If you have an incredible caterer, they're going to be to the second on time. If you have a great photographer, they're going to know exactly how many photos are needed in advance and during cocktail hour, and they will know exactly how much time is needed, so they're not running over because they're going to stop me before the wedding day even happens and say we're going to need 15 more minutes for that, and then we're going to build that in. So part of it is having a great vendor team, and part of it is just thinking through every second of the day so that it's it's totally relaxed.
Yeah, yeah. Um, what's your opinion of first looks? Do you push for first looks, or do you not really have an opinion? I know for me, being a wedding photographer, I always try to, if they're willing or wanting to do that, obviously I push a little, like, this is why you want to do a first look. But is that a conversation that you have with all your couples of the benefits and the downsides of doing a first look?
Yeah, I mean, the benefit to seeing the bride and groom or couple for seeing each other in advance is that then during cocktail hour they can go enjoy. They're not doing portraits with their families, portraits with their um, wedding party. They could do get those all done in advance. So I know that it's really popular to do first looks, and it just relieves the timing a little bit. And also sometimes it relieves the stress of the couple. Sometimes they're a little bit anxious to see each other and excited, and it sort of gives them a moment privately, not in front of everyone that is at the wedding. Um, I know this is unpopular, but I'm a bit old fashioned and I like the surprise of walking down the aisle. I think I'm the last person who likes that, but I think it's really sweet and traditional. So I know that's not the photographer's favorite answer, but that would be my answer.
Yeah, I've had my last couple of people who reached out for 2025, 2026 weddings. They're like, "Oh, we don't want a first look." Like, really, I'm like, like, you sure? It makes it so much easier on the wedding day and so many more photo
Yeah.
opportunities. But I get it. I get the way some people want to have that experience.
Yeah.
In terms of um, trends and things that
Hmm.
I know in the last couple of years, content creators is, having like a person come and film reels for you for your social media is a thing that's sort of getting more and more popular in the
Hmm.
last couple of years. But in terms of any other things, in terms of florals or dresses or anything like unique trends, have you seen for 2025 or 2026 that people are wanting or like everyone's asking for these days?
Well, I just feel like our couples are going away from a more rustic, themed wedding to more classic, traditional, and formal styles. Like we're seeing a lot more black tie, a lot more like black and white accents. But we're also seeing a lot of color. Like I feel like whites and greens were very in for a long time, just sort of neutrals. And this year I have a lot of couples, and this next year I have a lot of couples who want every color you can imagine. And I just think it's really fun and it has like good energy to it. So we're seeing
Yeah.
those trends in terms of styles. And then we're also still seeing a lot of full wedding weekends. So instead of just the wedding day, like knowing that your couples are coming or your guests are coming from all over the country, sometimes other countries. And so we're doing a lot of events the week leading up to the wedding, and especially the day before, and then events the day after and into the week after the wedding. So really making an entire, experience out of it for guests.
I love full weekends, like Friday, Saturday,
Hmm.
Sunday. Capture the rehearsal, the wedding day, and then like a brunch. I love those. And like everyone stays on the same property. Those to me are that's what weddings should all be. It's because you really can
Yeah.
enjoy the people are there and be present. And ideally with no internet.
Yeah, and when that happens, like it's not the pressure to talk to every single person at your wedding. I mean, you don't have to make sure you talk to
Right.
this person and take a break from dancing because you didn't see this uncle from this place. It's like you have days to really visit and chat, and then you can relax at the wedding a little more. So I love it too.
Yeah, and you can like hang, it's the older people have gone to bed, and you can hang out by a bonfire or
Yeah.
fire and have fun with your college friends, and like you don't feel pressure to like squeeze everything in. Yeah, it's I think it's the way
Yeah.
to go.
Yeah.
Um, in terms of, I know on some weddings I shoot, you can think you have the most perfect couple you're working for. The
Mm.
the bride is just the sweetest, and they listen to all your recommendations. And then the day of, which I don't know how this works in the wedding planning world really, but then you have a mom jump into the scene on the
Mm.
day of who wasn't part of any of the conversations and is sort of wanting her wishes fulfilled as opposed to what you've discussed with the couple the whole time. And I've had that only a handful of times. It's not usually a problem, but
Hmm.
I was just wondering in terms of getting up to the day of the wedding, in terms of planning, how do you sort of navigate family dynamics? Do you ever feel like you have to like reference back like, okay, who's the boss here? Or how does that work in the wedding planning world?
Yeah, I mean, we discuss it in advance. So we know who should be in the room getting ready, who is going to be in what photos, and I'm fine being in charge of that or being the bad guy that day. If someone will not be getting ready with the bride or um, wants to give a toast and can't, I mean, they come to me. So I'm like the gatekeeper for all the things. And so we
Yeah.
like to talk about family dynamics early just to be aware if something will happen. But there's often stress during that day and that weekend, and people get worked up. And so, I mean, I love moms, I love grandmas, I love dads. And so I love, getting to know the families that day. And I'm fine being the person that helps the couple stay stress free. So that's my
Yep.
goal is for them to have a stress free day.
Yep. That's I've been in those situations where it's like, no one else is coming in this room.
Yeah, yeah.
Photos, you can't come in.
Nope.
You just
Nope.
have to be
Yep.
like
That's our job.
subtly
Yeah.
blocking people.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not
Um,
subtle, but yes.
I
Yeah.
well, I avoid conflict at all costs, so I just sort of
Oh,
have my own little ways of dealing with it. But no
okay.
one ever knows when I'm stressed on a wedding day, even though I might be having a full-on meltdown on the inside. Um, in terms of, I guess, resources or anything, like to just keep track, even, obviously if you have you involved, you have all of, you're tracking all those things and keeping everything in one place where you know what's going on a wedding day. But if someone were to like just start to begin and start, like trying to figure out a venue first,
Mhm.
or just like in general, I know there's so many websites now that are promoting venues and vendors and things. It's kind of overwhelming even for me. There's ones that pop up every day, and I'm like, I don't even know this one. And then there's like, each
Mhm.
one has hundreds of vendors for each category. Is there one
Mm.
that you recommend over others, or is there like a, like begin here stage? Where would you go as a bride?
Do you mean for vendor resources?
Yeah, just
Yeah.
like to, any sort of beginner stage resource.
Well, I mean, I would say whatever vendor you booked first, if it's not the planner, if it's the venue or the caterer, I mean, if you love that company or that person and trust them, I would go with their list for vendors. Um, I feel like vendors work well together that I've worked together before. So because I love to refer photographers, they'll refer me back. I'm on certain venue lists that I know the venue inside and out. I know exactly what we need to rent there. I know exactly how the flow goes. And so those venues in turn refer me as well. So I feel like um, getting a vendor team that works well together is amazing. I mean, it's like great synergy, and you just can't go wrong if you're getting referrals from vendors. So I don't know if that totally answers it, but I think that that's where I would start is if you have booked a vendor, really communicate with them about who they love working with and why.
Yeah, that answered my question, even though my
Yeah.
question was that great to begin with.
Yeah. That's okay.
Um, so, so I think that's it. I mean, the whole point of this was just to help, these, people who are recently engaged, if they stumble upon this. I just wanted to really express, from a photographer standpoint, how amazing wedding planners can be. And I think it's very easy to get very overwhelmed very quickly. And I know, sometimes probably even people push out dates because they don't stay on top of it,
Mm,
especially if you
yeah.
want a very in-demand venue. And so then you have to push your date out even further. And these things all sort of have like, a butterfly effect, and it can really throw off when you want to get married. So I think if
Mm,
if you're thinking you want a wedding planner, reach out to one, and they will really take a lot of that stress away immediately. And I think it's worth every single dollar you spend, to avoid all that stress and just be able to enjoy the process and just focus on picking out the vendors that you really love. So I really appreciate you taking the time to share all your expertise. Is there anything
you
that
bet.
we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that's great. That was so wonderful. I love having, great vendor referrals, and I just love working with you, Dustin, and great photographers. So, I really hope that couples will really consider, planning when they're from the start when they're starting in their wedding process.
Awesome. Well, if anyone watching this knows someone who's planning a wedding, please share this. And happy planning. And Rosie, once again, thank you very much for your time. I greatly appreciate it.
Great. Okay, thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.